Welcome to A Scrap Life, a podcast solely focused on the hustlers, grinders, operators, and business owners who live and breathe the scrap metal industry every day. Here is your host, Brett Eckhart.
All right, everybody. A Scrap Life is back. And what better of a way to kind of get April fired up? I mean, it's the biggest scrap slash recycled materials convention of the year. This year it's in Vegas. Every other year it's in Vegas. And we're lucky enough for it to be in Vegas this year. And what better of a way to get this thing fired up than with Jennifer Betts, the CEO of Recycled Media, which is a whole story in itself, but we'll get into that later. Thanks for coming out,
Yes.
Jennifer.
Yeah, likewise. Thanks for having me on. It's been too long. It's been 24 hours since we last spoke.
Yes, yes. Like we were due. We were due for another conversation, but this one actually being recorded. So we gotta we gotta frame this a little tighter than just talking about crazy stuff that our kids did or our dogs did or
Or the Photoshop Lambos, yes.
oh, you did you notice that was photoshopped?
Yes. Oh, excuse me. The official summer house, the 4 new Lambos that you just bought in every color. Right. Yes.
I got some crazy comments about that. I mean, to LinkedIn's credit, we were talking to a client here the other day about the differences of social media and how whether it's Instagram or LinkedIn or Facebook or whatever, and just kind of the attitude of each, right? And to LinkedIn's credit, I mean, most people are positive, right? And I think we were trying to encourage people to, promote their business, promote their, what they have going on in their life. And somebody was like, well, what if I, somebody's not, starts talking shit to me about this or that. And I'm like, and I think it was you that was like kind of, went into that. So go ahead and tell them kind of what you said.
So, generally speaking, LinkedIn, for the most part, most people are very professional on LinkedIn. Out of all the platforms, I think I've only gotten a handful of negative comments, and even those negative comments, those people still phrase them in pretty professional terms.
Yes.
Uh,
Yeah.
so you can still have a pretty I'd say constructive conversation in the comment section on LinkedIn because of the way that the platform is structured. And those comments, they do promote engagement on there. And I did respond again professionally into those comments because I do think it is constructive to have a difference of opinions or a difference of thoughts on those platforms, and you can respond again professionally on that platform, or you can choose not to respond if that's so be it. But again, that might have been 0.001% out of everything that I've ever responded on that platform. Now
Versus,
if you go
yeah,
oh go,
versus like TikTok or versus
yeah.
Instagram
Mm,
or versus now
yeah.
what do
Yeah,
you think?
if you go over to the clock app, that is a very different story. That is like free range Wild West. You could post the most innocent whatever on that app, and people come out of the woodwork on that app. You can be the most professional on that app, and they could just rip you to
Like a
shreds.
roast fest, right? Like
Yes.
it's a straight up like and some of I'll go to certain social media sites just for the comments because like I mean there's some witty humans out there like they will say some shit that like just like I can't I'm always sitting over there in my chair like going through stuff and my wife like what are you laughing at? I'm like I'm just reading the comments on some of this stuff and people are wild. It's like so but to that point, like we can I want to get into the dynamics of what recycled media is and kind of how, how where it came from and whatnot. But to that point, like to end it on a positive note, if you're nervous about posting something on LinkedIn or whatever, know that you're probably, if you're looking for positive reinforcement or you're looking for genuine engagement, like genuine engagement with people that could potentially, you could do business with or, work for or work for you or whatever that is, like that's probably your best, most professional social media site, app, whatever you want to call it, of them all, I think.
Oh, absolutely. That is by far the best place to start. If you want encouragement, LinkedIn is going to be the most positive experience to date. So if you're on the fence about posting anywhere business related, LinkedIn is the best place to
The
start.
kiddie
So just
pool, right? It's the
yes,
kiddie pool.
100%. Just post it there.
You're
Just
not gonna drown. You're not gonna
no.
like it's not the
Yes.
20-foot deep end. Like if you want to go the 20-foot deep end, go
Yes.
to Instagram or TikTok and it gets wild. But if you
Oh yeah.
wade
No.
in slowly and get a feel for it, if you're not super, like adept to what can the comment section, then it's a good place to start.
Yeah, yeah. I was not prepared for some of the other social media sites when I started posting on some of the other ones after starting on LinkedIn. Take some practice on the other
Yes.
ones.
So I mean, of the different apps, like what do you find you have the most fun with? Like what do you enjoy? Which ones do you enjoy the most? Which one do you, I mean, we can talk about traction later, but like which one do you enjoy doing?
I really love TikTok. And the reason why I really love TikTok is because it is like no rules. It is just creative freedom. The people, the creators that are on that app are hilarious. You don't know what you're gonna you can't expect
Yeah,
anything. It's just the algorithm after a while, yes, you can start to kind of expect on there. A lot of what comes across mine is, business tips and tricks. Right now, spoiler alert, when this is getting released, I'm on vacation. I'm going to be on a cruise. So a lot of what is coming across my feed right now is cruising tips and tricks with the family. So the algorithm does start to, sort of be expected, but every now and then you get something very humorous. And so it's hilarious.
yeah.
Now, from a creator standpoint, it's wonderful because I get to try out a lot of really new creative things. And that allows me to try things out before I post them onto other platforms. So, for those that are listening or watching, spoiler alert, I don't post everything from TikTok onto LinkedIn. Okay. It does not all translate. It is not all appropriate for LinkedIn. Okay. A lot of what I use TikTok for is I create the videos in TikTok because I just like the user interface. It's
It's just
just easier for me.
such a the thing I love about, and I think as a Gary Vee said this a while back, and he's like, the beautiful thing about TikTok is it makes it really easy for the user. So it's not setting up all these cameras and these doing this
Yeah.
and like you got to go edit. Like all the tools are in it, like voiceovers and music and there's probably a ton of stuff I don't even like go down. Like I'm not tech savvy enough to figure it out, but it does make it a 10 times easier than you would think to make a video, to add some cool music or clip it out and cut it and I mean it's just that is probably the big the big win that TikTok I think kind of got everybody going down that path was just ease of use.
It really is. And I've tried to switch over to Instagram to use some of the interface there, and I just find it clunky. It's just not as easy for me to use it. There aren't as many features that I find in TikTok to use it. For instance, the green screen is something that I think I've kind of been found to be known for because I use a lot of industry news and articles and I comment on things behind me
Yeah.
for those news articles. And that's just very easy for me to do in TikTok. And I find it's easier for me to do in the TikTok app than it is for me in Instagram.
Gotcha. So it's a matter of finding what works for you.
Yes.
So, all right, well, let's go. Let's kind of like back up a little bit and kind of figure out how we even got to this place in the first place. And I think part of that is why I wanted to start there is because that's really, in my mind, how you and I like reconnected was you started posting content and videos on LinkedIn. And
Mhm.
I mean, that's from my standpoint. I'm a big LinkedIn guy. I love the app. I love the connections you can make and just everything about it. I feel there's a ton of value there. And so I was just you kept popping in my feed and kind of coming up, and I was like, and I knew you because we had done some business in the past. So when I started seeing your stuff, I was like, hey, what are you doing? Like, what's going on? Probably like people still do to you today because you've
Yes.
because you've had a pretty extensive career in this industry, in the recycled industry, in the new steel industry. And so you're pretty well connected. So I'm sure people see your stuff. They're like, so what are you doing? So what are you doing? What's the deal?
That's a very common question that I get because a lot of times people just like you, they just see the videos and they're like, okay, cool, but like how do you make money?
How do you keep the lights on?
How do
Yeah.
you keep the lights on? And for people that may not know who I am or like what my background is, Brett and I used to do business because I used to work for DJJ. So I used to trade non-ferrous. I used to do ferrous. I worked at AK Steel. I had my own company, Magner Metals, for many years. So I did brokerage. I worked at Argus Media. I worked at a steel and aluminum service center. So I've pretty much done the full supply chain at this point. And actually, the reason why I started posting videos because I was pretty active, I would say, on LinkedIn prior to the videos was because I've always thought LinkedIn was good from a business development standpoint. But when I was at my last company, it was a pretty tough product to sell, to be honest. It was a steel service center that also wanted to be essentially a metal bank, a futures hedging bank,
Mhm.
and that's a tough sell in our industry, right?
Yep.
Ferrous hedging, right? Obviously,
Very new
non-ferrous
product,
hedging.
right? Ferrous hedging.
Yeah,
Non-ferrous has been around for a long time, but ferrous hedging is still fairly new for a lot of people.
exactly, exactly. So when you're taking a look at your 2-year runway of customers and you're looking at, okay, what are we currently doing and what do we need to do differently to achieve a different result, you start to come up with creative ideas. And one of the ideas was visual content creation. And I started looking at YouTube content creation, just basic videos helping to explain the product and how it affects, physical trading and how it attaches, from a financial derivatives and to the physical business and really trying to put it in layman's terms, right? So then
Yep.
you could start putting that onto LinkedIn so that you could start talking to 1,000 people, but then on your day to day, you're having on like 8 phone calls, right? So you
Mhm.
could start being in all these different places and just being smarter about your time.
Yep.
And it wasn't necessarily met with a lot of positive feedback. So I said, no, I'm going to prove you wrong. I'll do it on my personal brand. And
Yeah.
so I said, I will start posting videos on LinkedIn and I will show you the results that are going to come back. Uh, and let me just tell you, that was real uncomfortable for me
Yeah.
that first month. And that's probably the first month that we started reconnecting was
Yeah.
me actually putting my face for the first time on LinkedIn, and not just like a news article or like, a photo of a pile of scrap or, excuse me, recycled material out there. So, and honestly, it generated a lot of traction, and it, yeah, it worked. Like, I mean, within 3 weeks, tripled my connections on LinkedIn, brought me actually a few different job opportunities,
Yeah.
um, multiple business leads in that time. I mean, the strategy worked to the point that we started talking. It just kind of got to the point where my entrepreneurial spirit kind of was like calling me back.
Yeah.
And here we are.
And here we are as, I mean, from my standpoint, we had been building quietly over in Idaho, just kind of a marketing, almost like a hit squad, like real, like people that are good at marketing. And we just kind of slowly putting all these pieces in place. And using them to promote our brands, right? And
Yeah.
our companies and build, our businesses, whether it's this in this on the scrap end, whether it's on the pipe end or store. We have a few different businesses that we operate in different industries. And these, probably I would say a handful at this time would be like with Marissa and Sky and Nick. And then we brought Carson in, and we kind of just started, bringing in people that were knowledgeable on certain things, whether it was podcasting or whatever. And I'm like, we have something here. We have a nucleus to build around. And then when I saw you posting it, I realized you were quote unquote unemployed by choice, and you were like open to opportunities. I was like, hey, like we've got something here, and we can help a lot of people. And at the end of the day, we can show people how to build their business because we've done it. Like I fucking hate people that talk a good game, but they've never done it. And
Yeah.
whatever it is, like it doesn't matter, like, but at least show me your resume and show me you've done something. Like you've actually generated success in whatever you're trying to sell me. It's like a physical trainer that's out of shape. Like I can't mess with you. Like, if you can't even take care of your own, like how are you gonna
Yeah.
coach me into being in shape, right? And
Yeah.
so we built recycled media, and at the time we didn't know we needed some leadership. We just knew we had this thing, and I was
Mhm.
like, hey, if this is something you feel like you want to be a part of, then we would love to, bring you on and have you be a big part of it, not just as a manager or whatever, but as an actual owner, right? And I think that's where we connected.
Yeah. Well, and to kind of like flip this around on you, um, at what point did you realize or recognize that you needed this in your business? Or I should say, really, businesses.
I didn't know that I quote unquote needed it. I just had a strong desire to grow. And I didn't like when I tell the story a lot, but when Sacco approached me about being on a pile of scrap, his podcast, I had already started a podcast in the background for our pipe company that we had bought that was based out of Indiana. But it was something I didn't know a lot about. So I was trying to learn about this specific type of pipe. It's a reline pipe. I'm trying to understand like from industry experts, like how to sell it, right? I knew our product was good, but I didn't understand how to sell it because I didn't know the product that well. So I kind of started a podcast about Reline, which now a business partner of mine, Cassie Clancy, now does pipe. Her and I are business partners, and she now does that podcast, and she does a great job. But that was kind of my first taste of it. But I've always came from a point of I just want to grow, and it's more about I know to grow, like whether it's physically or business wise, like you got to do uncomfortable things, and I was super uncomfortable in front of the camera. So when Sacco asked me, I was like, dude, I don't really want to do a podcast, man. Like, I'm good. He goes, but Brett, you have a great story. You should tell it. And him and Darren Doan really kind of like coaxed me into it. Like, no, you should really do it. And then once I did it and I started making the connections, because I was already posting stuff on LinkedIn at that point, but I was just posting like my thoughts. I was posting pictures of our equipment and just what my opinion was on certain things, but never like the podcasting, never heavy marketing. And that was kind of what flipped it for me was the fact that I knew I needed to do something uncomfortable to grow my business. And the
Yep.
uncomfortable part was putting my face on camera. The other
Yeah.
uncomfortable part was spending the money, committing the capital to do it. Cause you're kind of like, we're scrap guys. Like if I buy 100 pounds of copper, I want to see 100 pounds of copper in the corner because I know that the 100 pounds is right there and I can go sell it and make, 10, 20, $30 or whatever that is, right? I know there's value there. Marketing is kind of you're putting the money out and you're hoping that the return is going to be there, right? And you don't, it's hard to quantify it. It's hard to say there's 100 pounds of copper in the corner. You just have to kind of believe in it and put yourself in that uncomfortable position of I'm gonna go all in. And that's why I did it. Like that's the story. It wasn't that I saw some grand vision of blowing my company up to XYZ size. It was just I had this strong desire to grow and I was willing to do whatever it took to build the business. And I thought this was a good place to start.
Well, I like that you use the term uncomfortable, and I forget what the exact quote is, but if you're not uncomfortable, you're not growing.
Yeah.
Uh, it, that quote really struck me when I was a member of Chief for a year. It's a professional women's organization. One of my cohorts shared that quote, and I forget who the quote is attributed to, but that was one of the contributing factors to me putting videos out because it was kind of that thought process of, well, if you want a different outcome, you can't expect to keep doing the same thing and expecting a different outcome.
Yeah.
So if you're living in that comfortable zone and you want a different outcome, that's never going to give you that different outcome. So if you go back to some of my earlier videos, they're not great. They they're uncomfortable. And I'm probably sure they're similar for you as well. They're probably not your favorite videos that you put out, right? Like
Yeah. They're rough. They're rough. And to this day, I'm not super polished, right? But I'm just trying just be me.
yeah,
And that's what I think caught my attention about what you were doing. You were just talking about stuff you knew about. Like you weren't trying to be something you weren't. When I met you, you were Jennifer Sherman.
yes.
We talked about scrap. When I saw you 10, 12 years later online, you were now Jennifer Betts, but you were still talking about the same things we used to talk about, which is scrap and steel and how does it work? And I'm like, okay, like that's the beautiful thing about I think social media, if you do it right, is you may have had a customer 10 years ago that used to do business with you and something happened, they moved locations, somebody dropped the ball on the service side, so they went another direction, like whatever it is. And all of a sudden they see that you're still dedicated, you're still trying to grow, you're still trying to build your business. All of a sudden, maybe you get another swing at that bat. And that's marketing.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it is. Like, that's not branding. Like, that's marketing. That's putting yourself out there, still staying in the game and playing offense and giving yourself a chance.
Absolutely. We've had clients tell us that because of a podcast, like one episode, that they've had a new client reach out to them, say, hey, because of such and such episode they saw, they were like, we didn't even know that you were in our backyard. And
Yeah.
so they got a new client because of that.
I mean, that's a good one. But what is the real value of people putting together podcasts of starting a podcast for your business? Like, what are what's the big value driver there in your eyes?
The one of the biggest ones is, from a technology standpoint, it's the SEO aspect of it. You're essentially putting a lot of keywords online so that you can be found. But from essentially a relationship, like a virtual relationship, you're essentially putting your authentic self online in a way that like a static photo, like a still photo is never going to be able to capture. Uh, you're not going to be able to build that relationship virtually online quickly or really well in any other way besides that podcast. Like right now, somebody's probably driving in their car, or maybe they're listening to us while they're working on a spreadsheet or something, and they're getting a better sense of who you and I are, so that the next time that maybe they see us at ISRI coming up or at some other event and they talk to us, they already have a better idea of who we are. Like this is how we talk. This is who we are. Like this is not some front of who some version of who we are. So when it comes to do business, that client now has a greater chance of doing business with them because they've already gotten like a few steps ahead with that potential client because they've already put themselves out there and built essentially a
Some
virtual
of the
relationship.
introductory stuff, like,
Yeah.
if you're if you're into grilling, if you're into bowling, if you're into drinking coffee with your dog on your lap, like I am, there's you can skip some of that. People, there's a relationship that's already been formed, whether you know it or not, right? With
Yeah.
potential clients, customers, and what even gets lost, what's crazy is the potential employees, teammates, leaders that are going to come into your company. And
Yes.
if if marketing does anything, podcasting does anything, it allows you to build, and this is my 2 cents on it, but it allows you to build out the marketing content that you can produce. So maybe somebody doesn't want to sit and listen to 30 minutes of you and I bullshitting, but a minute clip here, a
Yes.
minute and a half clip there. Here's what I believe on this. Here's my thoughts on that. And you
Mhm.
get a sense of it, right? And you can kind of use those podcasts for that, for maybe the guy that, or gal that doesn't want to spend that much time listening to this because they like listening to audible books more, right? But they can still pick up pieces of it, and it allows you to kind of break it off into whatever format that somebody might want to take in. But I think that's probably one of your bigger value drivers is the relationship side. When you talk to anybody, how many recycling today interviews I've read over the years, right? They used to do the back page was the last page was the interview. They interviewed somebody it was a written interview from the industry. And they're like, what do you love about the industry? The people. Everybody
Yes.
says the people, the industry.
Mhm.
And it's like, I love it so much that I love like sitting down with people from our industry and just shooting the shit, right? I'm like, tell me about your story. How'd you get here? How'd you go from 1 yard to 30? How did you get to from here to California? Explain to me, like that relationship like builds and builds on itself to where if you truly are about the people, then you probably enjoy conversations like this. Not everybody loves them recorded, don't get me wrong, but you do enjoy these conversations, right? So they're easy to have. It's not, I mean, to me, they're easy to have because I'm really passionate about, how do people get to where they're at today?
Agreed. Well, I mean, that's actually a big reason why half of our booth at ISRI is going to be the podcast booth.
Yeah.
Because we do want to show people that it shouldn't be this whole anxiety filling thing. because a lot of what our industry is it's relationships, right? Like we go out, we have a meal, we share coffee, we share drinks with people, and we have these really wonderful conversations. And there's been so many times that I'm like, I wish we could have recorded this conversation because that was an amazing story. I can't believe like we didn't get that to share
Yeah.
with people because that was amazing. It was hilarious. Like that was an incredible story. I mean, there was one about like alligators or like snakes in like the steel mill, but that like will never be recorded and could not be shared. But we've got links on our website. Here's my little recycled media plug. But we've got links on our website because you can schedule podcasts with us, Brett, myself, while we're in Vegas, just to sit down with us like for 15, 20 minutes, just to showcase like it's really not scary. It's not intimidating. There's not going to be an audience. It's just like share your stories, get to know us. We'd like to get to know you. And then, it just kind of shows you that this is something that you can use in your business. And like Brett said, you can cut it up. You can use it throughout the month. Like it's a really great business development tool. And also it's great for your communities too, because then they get to know you as a business owner that you're not this scary, quote, scrapyard. You are a wonderful metal recycling facility that is great for the economy and the environment. Like,
Yes. Yeah.
it's
It allows you to
all
do,
of
and
us.
it allows you to deal with, your local level, whether it's your city council, your mayor, your city planner, the
Mhm.
local school teacher. Shout out to my wife. Like at the end of
Yep.
the day, like it allows you to be involved in your community if you want to do a podcast. And you can do it. There's so many forms of it. And so those are the big, like that's the kind of big value drivers that I see it. I
Yeah.
mean, it's a marketing tool that's you don't even need us to do that. Like you literally can just do it. Like all we do is just put the training wheels on it for you and like help you get. It's like the difference of learn how to swim by yourself by jumping off the deep end, or do you like maybe get a few swimming lessons and try and understand like the mechanics of swimming. So then when you
Yes.
do, you can jump in, you can swim. Like that is where I feel, you and the recycle media team probably, have the most, expertise and the most flex is that you guys kind of provide the training wheels and kind of get that deal rolling. But
Yes, absolutely. Because, it's actually really well timed with ISRI's rebrand. And this is a little bit of a hot subject right now, just, between the scrap, recycled materials sides. But it's interesting timing because I recently posted on TikTok of all places. And anytime that I post about steel or scrap, there's always this sentiment in the comments of I didn't know we had steel in this country. Like I didn't know, we manufactured this in the country. Like there's this
yeah,
really large population in the United States in particular that are unaware that we have this large of a manufacturing sector still. And that it's I mean, in my opinion, it's pretty robust, but like we just don't do that great of a job making the public aware of it. So if we can help as many companies as we can in our industry start podcasts, help get them online, get their digital marketing just in general up to speed with what's happening out there. Imagine taking the 5 voices and making it 100, making it 1,000. How many more of the public would actually understand what we do for the economy and what we do for the environment, and how many more talented individuals we could recruit, how much easier it would be to deal with the local government or the national government it would be, and just like from a community engagement standpoint, how they would understand our businesses better. Like if we were all actually doing what we're talking about here
and
and educating.
I think, and like it's a hot button topic that doesn't have to be a hot button topic.
Yeah.
Like it should be something that can kind of galvanize the industry, and in the fact that as old, quote unquote, like old school as I am, and the fact that I mean, this is called a scrap life. Like I love the word scrap, but I also know that even the people that love the words recycled materials like we still love the same thing. We just say it differently, right? It's the same reason, same way someone might say y'all and someone might say you all, right?
Mhm.
Like it's the same way of, it's a different way of saying the same thing. And depending on who you talk to and how you say it and what you got going on at the time, we're all proud of what we do. It's just a matter of showcasing it, the way we want it to be showcased. And that's, where whether you're doing a podcast or whether you're a member of ISRI or whether you're, on the board or you're the president or whatever that is, like I think we're all pretty passionate about what we do and the people we do it with. So,
Yes.
I mean, it's keeping that in mind and not like saying, okay, you're on that side and I'm on this side. This isn't like red versus blue, right? This
No,
isn't politics. Like we
no.
can all agree that we do care about the industry because at the end of the day, if we can present it in a good light, one way or the other, we're probably going to keep the regulations down. We're probably going to keep the cities and the states and the local municipalities happy with the service that we're providing and give us a little bit of breathing room to do our jobs.
Yep, exactly. And I'm kind of curious what Isri's rebranded
And what's
name.
your I'm like I know you don't know the answer because I think you probably would have like hinted at me like, hey, I know, but I think everybody's kind of out in the cold on this one. What are you thinking? Like, what's the big news? What's the acronym?
I
It's
feel like it's going to be two
crap.
syllables. Because if it's just one, that seems weird. It's got to be two. It For everything that they've been pushing in the past 2, 3 years for recycled materials, it seems like RM is gonna have to be in the name. Um, I think Ermi would be hilarious, or Army would also be hilarious to like, are you going to Army this year? Like Army
Yeah.
2025. So I don't know. I feel like it's in that ballpark area.
Okay. Yeah. Well, we know if this was Wheel of Fortune, we'd be like, I'll take the R and the M.
Yes.
I don't know
Yes.
I don't know. I don't know what the vowels are going to be,
No
but
vowels. No vowels for right now. I don't know if it's an institute.
you
I
got
don't
to
know if
pay for
there's it,
vowels. You got to pay
no
for vowels
industry.
anyway.
Yeah, none of that. Well, Robin Weiner, the president of ISRI, is going to be on my live Expo Hall podcast Tuesday, April 16th at 11:30. And I am going to try
Trick
and
her
get
into it.
maybe a couple hints
Yeah, maybe we
out
get her
of
like a,
her.
like a glass of wine or ahead of time.
Yes.
Maybe she'll slip up and
Yeah.
give you a hint.
Yeah. Can I at least get a vowel, Robin? Can I get a vowel out of
So what are you gonna be doing at ISRI? First of all, like what's like we're you're gonna have a booth. Recycled Media is gonna have a booth. So I know you're gonna spend some quality time, shaking hands and kissing babies at
Yep.
that
Yep.
deal, introducing people to, what Recycled Media has to offer. But what are
Yep.
you doing for ISRI? What kind of speaking engagements you got lined out?
So, as I previously mentioned, I will Bets on the Future podcast will be one of five, I believe, live podcasts that are going to be through the Expo Hall over a few days. Mine will be Tuesday, 11:30 to 12:30. The first guest will be Robin Weiner, ISRI president. The second guest will be Tamara Weiner. She's the president of Autocompu, which is a stainless manufacturer in North America. On Wednesday, you and I and Stu Kagan of Buddy will be doing a marketing over branding, how small and mid-sized businesses win. We're going to be doing a marketing panel from 8:45 to 9:45, I believe. So hopefully people are up and about
Bring your
at that.
tomato juice, your red
Yes.
beers. It's gonna be like a red beer meeting.
Yes, it
Yeah.
is going to be a lot of coffee that morning. And then Thursday, ISRI really just kept loving the early morning. I've got a tech panel, eco innovation at 9:30 a.m. with Lisa Kagan from Buddy, Blake Gordon from Georgia Pacific Recycling, and Evan Schwartz from AMCS Group, where we're going to be talking about some of the technologies that are, kind of making some waves in the recycling world. So those are the three main things. And then I have to give a shout out to my scrap trader business partners that are also going to be at ISRI as well. They'll be doing some demos for the software that they'll be launching as well.
Nice, nice. Yeah, it's gonna be a busy week, right? I mean, we get in on Sunday and I think we leave on Friday, and it's just gonna be so we used to put a booth at SEMA, which is a huge expo in Vegas, and it was just crazy. I mean, it's just balls to the wall for like 4 days. And I feel like that's kind of how Israel's becoming, with, even for us. I mean, when you have a booth and then you have, customers and clients and your friends, like what I love about Israel is just all my friends are, there, like, like my real friends, like the people I get to see, once a year, maybe like twice a year if it's a good year. I mean, so that's what I really love. So then you're trying to balance, hanging out with your friends and trying to make the 8:45 speaking engagements. And so yeah, it's a juggling act. And I get home on Friday, and my wife's gonna be like, "Are you all right?" I'm like, no, no, I'm not.
No, no, it is it's real tough. That week's gonna be tough. And I'm adding an additional layer. So my family is coming with me this year.
I love it.
So my husband, even though we've been together, almost a decade and a half, we're in very different industries. And for the most part, he really hasn't actually met a lot of the people that I've ever worked with. Just because we have kids. So like for childcare reasons, like he
Yeah, it's
doesn't
hard.
get to, doesn't get to come on work trips. So crazy enough, he's coming along, the kids are coming along. The kids are actually going to be on the expo hall floor Tuesday morning because part of ISRI's rebranding, they're going to be interviewing people Tuesday morning. So if anybody wants to be quickly interviewed on what they do in the recycling world, by a couple, elementary age kids, but they'll be around 9 to 11 a.m. just like checking out the equipment, just because like the next generation just doesn't really know that they can have a career in recycling, because we
Yeah.
just, we
Have
don't
you been
really.
prepping them? Have you been like getting them like to ask the question? Have you showed them what they're getting themselves into? Are
a
you
little
are you
a little
starting
bit
like mini podcasters early in life?
A little bit. Well, it's hilarious because like every now and then they'll catch me trying to make like a TikTok, and they're
Yeah,
like, can I be in it? And I'm like, absolutely not. Like, no. You're way too young for that.
yeah,
And so this is my combination of, you want to come see what mommy does, for work, and like see some really cool equipment slash, okay, like come learn about the industry, come meet some of the people that mommy works with. Like it is a really cool industry. We do work with like some really cool people. We've got some great friends in the industry. So like, okay. And the Mandalay Bay has a wonderful wave pool. So
yes, yeah.
like,
Mandalay
why
Bay
not?
is a beautiful hotel. And
Yeah.
if honestly, if my wife was coming and my kids were coming, that's probably where they'd stay. But
Yeah.
I'm old school and I love the griminess of the Luxor. And I know like my wife's like, so where are you staying? I was like, I'm staying at the Luxor. And I was like, and hopefully if I have it my way, one of those triangle rooms that like the half
No,
cut off and you can't as like I like it old
the
school.
elevator ride, or
Cheap
like it's not an
table,
elevator, it's the sideways, like the angle thing on the way up. No,
the cheap
no.
table limits, like you can like get in there and like you hang out and everybody there is, I don't know. But if my kids were there, my kids were coming, my wife be like, so we're gonna stay over here. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
On the
Nice.
nicer side of the tracks, if
Yeah. And
I would
yeah.
say, right?
Yeah.
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 Same reason why she got me to move when we had kids.
Yeah. The next door.
Yeah. But I'm looking forward to it. I've got a pretty good podcast lined up, a pretty good live podcast with um, Jay Rabinovitz, who is retiring this year from Alter. Him and I go pretty far back from his Schnitzer days. But what's even cooler and what I'm even more excited about is I'm getting the man, the myth, the legend, Rod Eckhart, to come
Yes.
down to ISRI and sit on the podcast stage, which I know makes him very uncomfortable,
I
but
love this.
him and Jay go way back farther than Jay and I. That's how I know Jay. And when my dad, became partners with Schnitzer 1997, so they go back a long ways. And I am stoked to get some cigars. I doubt they're gonna let us light them up, but
Probably
the people
not.
that do show up, we are gonna have a grip of cigars to give out. People that want to come hang out, we'll go find a place in the casino to smoke them.
Yeah.
And
What
just
day is that, by the way? Like what time?
Wednesday. It's
Okay.
Wednesday at like 12:45 or something like that, around 1 o'clock.
All right.
And I forget what room it is. I'll have to make some promo clips for it or
It's
something.
the expo hall. Like it's
Oh,
simulcasted out.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm gonna get Jay and my dad. We're gonna talk about family business, transitioning family business, the history of scrap. Two guys that probably love the word scrap that came from, so their thoughts on how this industry's changed and just generally like low key, enjoyable, shooting the shit, kind of more my Mo, you're really good at being professional. I lack it in a lot of ways. So like you're the yin to my yang. Like you're
Okay.
very like put together, very organized, you do shit the right way. And I'm like the Luxor. Like you're Mandalay Bay. I'm over at the Luxor for a reason. Like you're like, hey, you stay over there and stay at the Luxor, you'll be fine.
But behind the scenes, I'm the one sending Brett Outlook invites to the calendar. I'm like, Brett, we're on a schedule. We're doing this. We're
Yeah.
doing it.
So I mean, and the reason I bring that up because I want people to know like how this deal is structured. Because I think it's super important. Is um we built our businesses off marketing, right? But I want people to know that Recycle Media is not run by me, right? It is truly owned, operated, and run by yourself, by Nick Snyder, by Marissa, by Sky, all the people that we have in the background creating the videos and doing that. Like, I feel like I'm just along for the ride. I mean, if you have marketing questions, I'll tell you how I've done it, like what's worked for me and United Metals and our brands. But the real like driver of the business, like who's going to be able to answer the most questions for you as a company is you. And it's people like Nick Snyder and Marissa. And those are the front facing people that are really driving recycled media. I'm super excited to support it, super excited to be a part of it. But it's not necessarily quote unquote my business. I financially involved, but I just love the idea of being a part of helping people push their business and grow it. And so for whatever that's worth, like they keep me at the Luxor for a reason.
Hey, we're just very happy that you're coming to ISRI. We're getting you
Yeah.
out. Like
Yeah,
you're
but it's gonna be. I'm excited. I get to hang out with a lot of people. I really enjoy their company. But one of the reasons why I wanted to do this podcast ahead of ISRI for our April newsletter is, I mean, if you got marketing questions, there's people out there that can answer them, and maybe you don't need us. And we will be the first ones to tell you you don't need us. But if you do, and if you want some help, then by all means, like talk to Jennifer, talk to Nick, talk to Marissa, like let them drop some knowledge on you, and it is what it is. We'll go from there.
Mhm. Absolutely. And we're going to be in Vegas all week. Plenty of time to come and find
Come
us.
shoot a podcast with us, right? Come sit down on it, come sit in the hot seat. Tell us
Yes.
your story. Like tell us what you're about. Tell us what your business is about.
Yeah, there are just really interesting people in this industry. Like let's just have a recorded conversation.
Come take your picture at the with the angel wings.
Okay,
Right?
I have to like just real quick. I'm so proud of our team on this one. Like they knocked it out of the park on this one. They designed the coolest angel wings. You know how like when you go to some of these cool sites where, they're beautiful angel wings that you can stand in front of and, but they did it out of scrap metal. Like they're gorgeous, or excuse me, recycled materials.
Yes.
Like it is sick. So come over to our booth, take a photo in front of it. Like Sky, Carson, Nick, Marissa, they designed like such a like they just have so much creativity. It's beautiful.
Hashtag your company, hashtag our company,
Huh.
hashtag ISRI,
Yeah.
hashtag, whatever you want. But come do the picture, send it to your kids so they know what you're
Yeah.
doing, what you're up to. Send it to your wife. My wife's a school teacher. I think she's kind of bummed that because she enjoys coming to Vegas for a couple. We usually have a good time. And it's kind of right towards getting towards the end of her school year, and we have kids, and our kids we kind of have to divide and conquer, like you said. So
Yeah.
as much as I love them there, like they're gonna have to fight it out here in Idaho, and while we're down there trying to keep the wheels on the bus. So
Yeah. Maybe next year your kids can be the ones that like go around interviewing.
maybe we'll split it up. Depends. Well, next year, if
San
I
Diego.
recall, and it's in May, right? Isn't somebody who's telling me it's like late?
Oh, is it? Maybe.
I have to do like don't quote me, but for some reason I heard that it was later in the year.
Oh. Well, I think it's San Diego next year, which is
Yeah.
phenomenal for families.
And it's phenomenal for if you live in California for the to drive.
Yeah, it's great. I get 2 years in a row, which I get to drive. It's
Yeah.
great for my travel budget, which is why I'm over at the Mandalay Bay this year.
Yeah. Makes it a lot easier. All right,
Yes,
Jennifer. Thanks for coming on. You're gonna looking forward to your whoever you have next on your podcast. You always have really good guests. Um, and looking forward to seeing you, your husband, who I still haven't met,
I
and
know.
kids.
He's looking forward to
I'm
seeing all you guys.
yeah, I'm excited. All their recycle media team's going to be out there shooting videos, podcasting, and just doing what we do. Just enjoying the business, enjoying the industry. So
Well, thank you so much for having me on and looking forward to seeing you in a couple weeks.
absolutely, take care.
All right. Thanks, Brett.